not get my hand to move in the correct way.
It was interesting the difference between if you're drawing with one hand and holding your own mirror versus when I was able to like touch the paper with both hands when my partner was holding the mirror.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So that's a great insight of what works for you and what was helpful for you. Did anybody else have any going like, oh, if I just think about it this way, it makes it easier? I see several hands.
I just tried like starting at a forward point and going back to where I ended last time.
Oh.
Trying to maybe reverse the process
Sure.
a little bit instead of trying to make it easier.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
I think we were talking about if you stop looking at the mirror and more just think about the shape and just kind of drawing that without looking, and then kind of using the mirror more as a reference rather than a guide.
Great. Great idea. Yeah.
I struggled with because I would get what I was doing down here, and then when I wanted to move the mirror, I would move the mirror in the opposite direction. Because I was like thinking opposite down here.
Great. Yeah.
I would kind of use the mirror to like guide me where I was going in a straight line, and when I got to a corner because I had stars, I would think back and remember what it looked like in front of me and react accordingly. So I just use the mirror as kind of like keep it in lines.
Great. Yeah.
For me, the maze one was like much easier with the curves, and then when I got to the star, I struggled so hard with the corners. I just kept going in every direction, not the right way.
I've had people get to a turning point and go, my brain is stuck. Those are really good insights on kind of how you could like change something in your thinking or change something visually to help you. It's basically to solve a problem. I've had people in the past who didn't want to say this because they thought it was cheating, but they got going one direction on the star, and then they just turned the paper so they could keep going that same direction with their hand. That's not cheating at all. That's a great problem solving.
I tried to do that.
Yeah?
But, and then I completely missed everything. So.
Oh, well, I guess it works for some people, not for others. But this is just a great example of how our brains are trained, geared to see things one way, and it's a challenge sometimes, and sometimes we can't think ourselves out of a box. Sometimes we just kind of have to let go and let it fly and just give something completely different a try. So, and it's also, I really think it's a good chance for you to have an understanding of what it's like for some of our participants. This is specifically designed as an empathy exercise for people with brain injuries, but I feel like it is true for people that have all kinds of different challenges, because it allows us to see what it's like to have a challenge like that and how to kind of work to overcome it. Yeah.
So we compared our lines afterward, then I'm right-handed, he's left-handed, so we looked at which one was more comfortable. So if you translate that into helping you kind of walk to where they're more comfortable, and then take how they made that pressure for whatever they're doing, and into the next project or whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just say, hey, you do a great job with this, or this is one of your strengths. Why don't you keep working on that? Keep doing that. That's a great idea. Yeah. Any other reactions or thoughts? All right. Well, for you all, art students, I just wanted to go into a little bit of kind of how I think of your job when you are working with artistic abilities and transition student classes. I think first and foremost, what I like to emphasize that you all are role models. You are artists, you love to be creative, and you want to model that enthusiasm, and it's almost like inspiration. You're also there, and so therefore, to do that, it's not about, like, oh, look at all this great stuff I do, but like, no, I have fun doing this. What do you have fun doing? Okay, let's, like you said, if you see somebody doing a particular kind of brush stroke that they're really successful at, you encourage and use that for inspiration to like, whoa, how could you use that in this next painting, whatever it is. So really, in a lot of ways, your role is mentoring. So yes, this is kind of practice teaching, but don't think of teaching as, okay, I'm up here, I'm a teacher, I'm showing you how to do things, and I'll go around and, check and see how you're doing the thing that I showed you to do. It's no, it's really more like, okay, here's the project, and, I can help you with ideas, and you can be doing some little creative thing or, kind of a small version of the project or something right alongside them. So if you're, sitting next to 2 or 3 people and you're all working on a similar project, you can say, oh, look, you're doing it differently. And look, you're doing it even differently, and this is how I'm doing it, and I like blue. What color do you like? And, it's almost like there's that interaction. And that's being an awesome role model and mentor, as well as being an opportunity so that when somebody gets stuck or frustrated, or they're not quite getting the right steps for, attaching 2 pieces of clay together, you can be there to say, okay, so let's remember to score, let's remember to slip, let's remember to, and then those will stick together much better, while you're doing it yourself. So that's a huge part of what your job is going to be in these classes. You're also going to be actually presenting projects and techniques. But there's always going to be a balance of learning skills versus helping people through their frustration, that kind of thing. So I think I'm going to make you all stand up and let's do something else. Oh, man, this is a huge group. Somehow, everybody needs to be in a circle. You need to have some small object that you can hold onto and pass. Pencil, pen. If it's your very favorite pen in the world, you might not want to use that one. Use a pencil that the tip just broke on or something like that. Only to get in a circle,
Maybe the inner people come to the outside?
Oh, yeah. Maybe we can kind of make like a odd shape to leave a circle around these 4 desks here. Does that make sense? So you guys come on over here. Because you need to be close enough to the person next to you to be able to pass them something. All right. All right. Okay. So, does everybody have some small object to pass? Awesome. All right. So, I'm going to read you a story, just a short little story. Every time I say the word right, you need to pass your object to the right. Every time I say the word left, you need to pass your object to the left. Okay. You might not want to have that stand in between you. Yeah. Okay, I'm just saying for ease, as you might see. Okay, here we go. One day, the Wright family decided to take a vacation. The first thing they had to decide was who would be left at home, since there was not enough room in the Wright family car for all of them. Mr. Wright decided that Aunt Linda Wright would be the one left at home. Of course, Aunt Linda Wright was so mad that she left the house immediately, yelling, "It will be a right cold day before I return." The Wright family now bundled up the children, Tommy Wright, Susan Wright, Timmy Wright, and Shelley Wright, and got into the car and left. When they turned out of the driveway, someone had left the trash bin in the street, so they had to turn right around and stop the car. They told Tommy Wright to get out of the car and move the trash so that they could get going. Tommy took so long that they almost left him in the street. Once the Wright family got on the road, Mother Wright wondered if she had left the stove on. Father Wright told her not to worry. He had checked the stove and she had not left it on. As they turned around the corner, everyone started to think about other things they might have left undone. No need to worry now, they were off to a right fine vacation. When they arrived at the gas station, Father Wright put gas in the car and then discovered that he had left his wallet at home. So Timmy Wright ran home to get the money that was left behind. After Timmy left, Susan Wright started to feel sick. This, of course, got Mother Wright's attention, and she left the car in a hurry. Shelley Wright wanted to watch Susan get sick, so she left the car too. Father Wright was left with Tommy Wright, who was playing a game. Father Wright decided that this was not the right time to take vacation, so he gathered up all of the family and left the gas station as quickly as he could. When he arrived home, he turned left into the driveway and said, "I wish the Wright family had never left the house today."
So good.
Say okay!
Well, we didn't have anything.
I would have had like 6 things, yeah.
Some people have 2 things, some people have no things. All right. So, how did that make you feel?
Is that a sock?
It's a glove.
Oh.
And I got those for a while.
Could you pay attention to the story and to passing right and left at the same time?
Not when everyone was laughing.
I do like the story.
Oh, okay. How many children were there in the Wright family?
3.
I thought it was
7.
Wait,
4.
wait.
12. There were several.
There were 4.
Nice.
Okay, anybody remember their names?
Tommy. There was a Tommy. So now I can't remember.
Yeah, Tommy.
I got
Okay. Tommy, Susan, Timmy, and Shelley. Does anybody remember who was left at home at the beginning of the story?
The son.
An aunt, yes, aunt, that's a good one.
Which one?
Aunt Linda, right? Did you at any point like start to get confused about what direction?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like something like right, left, and then there's like.
I was going
Left.
Yeah.
Went halfway through and then I didn't know where we were anymore.
Yeah, we like dropped it at one point, and then I laughed, and then I just like forward.
You bent down, people were passing above you.
This seems really obvious, but did it seem like your attention was divided between paying attention to the story and paying attention to the having to listen for right and left?
Yeah.
And the driving story.
Yeah.
For right and left.
Exactly. A lot of the story.
Bully are you, British?
So, this is again an opportunity to think about, imagine what your life would be like if you had difficulty keeping track of, I mean, we all think we multitask all day long. I mean, we do. We think about, okay, we've got 4 classes, and we've got a paper for this one, and a test for that one, and a project for that one, and you know, and then we need to do our laundry, and then don't forget to oh, we need to go to the grocery store, up, and we're out of toilet paper, and, you know, so there's all these multiple threads that run through our lives all the time. But for some people with challenges, that's way too much information. And so people can have difficulty keeping up with information as it's presented to them. And that has to do with often like speed of processing, and that's really common after brain injury, but it's can be a challenge for a lot of people with various disabilities. And so we can all take our seats. If you have a pen or pencil you want returned,
Green
or
pencil.
sunglasses.
Green pencil.
Glove,
Sunglasses.
pen,
White pen? White pen. Oh, sorry, my bad. I see my pen. Yellow highlighter. Would that be my highlighter?
Okay, I'm like, the highlighter's like.
yeah. Oh, sorry.
This exercise kind of shows some possible strategies for people that might have kind of slower cognitive processing times. And it's always great at the beginning of class when you're introducing a project to show actual different stages of the project. So if you've done an example, don't just have, and especially if it's a little bit more complicated one, don't just have the finished product, have maybe like, okay, the raw materials, a mid-stage, and the finished project. So people can see where they're going. And it's, at the beginning of class, don't just put a list of, okay, here are the steps you need to follow, and there are 10 steps. People get very confused and lost. Start out with saying, okay, the first thing you do is you pick out the color of paper you want to use, and then go pick out the paints that you're interested in. And so people can do that. And then as they go along, it's almost easier, instead of telling the whole class, okay, now do the next step, because everybody works at a different pace, to just kind of be around and have, you know, people gather around those tables. So if you have, you know, 4 or 5 tables with people around them, have at least 1 or 2 of you at each of the tables to kind of help move people along. Okay, the next step is this, next step is that. And so it's really kind of, instead of overloading with information, which, you know, like you guys getting the syllabus at the beginning of the semester, and you know, you are maybe able to go, okay, this week I need to do this without worrying about all the rest of the steps. But some people get really overwhelmed when they know they have 10 steps. They can't even get started on their first step. So it's sometimes easier to just break things down kind of a little bit at a time. Examples of stages, like I said, that's really helpful. Having slides of those different stages can be useful, but it isn't actually as useful as having the actual object or the actual drawing or something like that. People, a lot of our participants, a lot of people in general, learn more kind of tactily and kinesthetically, and if they can actually pick something up and look at it and get an idea of what the texture is and the feel is, sometimes that's easier for them. Sometimes if people get stuck, like where do I start or where do I go from here, sometimes the thing to do is to kind of give them like very concrete choices. It's like, well, do you want to use the blue paper or the red paper? Well, do you want to use do you want to use acrylic paint for this, Or do you want to work with colored pencils? Do you want to use paint or pen? You know, that kind of thing. So giving people choices within what, you know, if they, sometimes people get overwhelmed with so many choices, they don't know where to start. So sometimes narrowing the choices down. Now sometimes you say, do you want to use the blue paper or the red paper? And they'll go, oh, I want to use the yellow paper. Well, that's fine too. It's not one of the choices you gave them, but there's yellow paper there, so why not? And if people seem to be stuck, or if people are getting frustrated, ask them. Ask them what's going on. Also, ask, well, you know, what are you drawing? What do you want to do? What do you want your final piece to look like? Do you want to make one animal or 3 animals in this picture? It could be, you know, anything really, you know, relative to the project, but just ask them what they're doing and how they like it. And sometimes people have stories behind what they're doing. It might not be, you know, really obvious from whatever it is they're making, but they might have a really kind of detailed story about either an experience that they've had that they're drawing, or a fantasy that they have, or, you know, they've just made up a really fun story. So it's always fun to hear what people are thinking, so it's great to ask. Gosh, it's gone fast. So I think we have just a little bit of time left for you guys to do one more thing. Everybody should have just a piece of this paper to work on, and then, Patrick, where's okay, everybody's gonna get just a small lump of modeling clay, and what I want you to do is use your non-dominant hand, like, sit on your other hand or whatever, but don't lose the other hand, and just play with the modeling clay and see what you come up with. Just see what it feels like. This is a chance to have here, I'll make sure.
Not ready for this.
You don't need to. Oh yeah, that's more than enough. It depends what you want. Yes, you're not dominating.
And you just, yeah, so you
Yeah.
It's just really old. They should
The more you work with it, the softer it gets too.
with your non-dominant.
No.
Can't even pull it apart with
Of course, I'm trying to do it in a big hurry, so that doesn't help at all. So you guys pass this down and everybody take a chunk.
So, one of my relatives.
And if you really want more than what I give you, there's more here.
She's like a rock.
This stuff makes a mess.
One more piece for Jen.
Whatever. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
It's like the glowing thing.
I know these are really small pieces. I'm just trying to. We don't have a ton of time.
Oh, no.
Softer.
Yeah, I think that's a different kind though. Like even like little like deep dishes. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something else. I don't know what that was.
All right.
Because there are commercials where it's dry even too, and like you can like mold with it.
Yeah, as your hand warms it up, it should get less stiff. So again, this is just a chance to see what it feels like to, you know, have some kind of physical challenge where you've got limited, maybe range of motion or limited fine motor skills, that kind of thing. Just a chance to see what it's like and see what some of the strategies are that we come up with.
I always think about like, should I be ambidextrous just in case? It's so technical.
I'm screwed.
My art teacher in high school still me.
I know. I
It
can't.
was like 1 week was like, we watched it in video of different artists that had different disabilities.
Yeah.
It's like by the end of the day, one could do it, so I painted, but I painted my teeth, I painted my toes.
Wow, that's fun.
Yeah, so it was really cool. We watched awesome.
It's working.
Probably uses your right hand.
Nope, not going to.
It's definitely cheap.
You obviously.
Little snowman.
Yeah.
I see that. It's kind of hard.
And now it's like,
Okay,
30 minutes here, that's like a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I ended up partnered with my sister. And I gave her like, oh, what the heck? I said, what did you do? And she's like, wow, thanks.
Oh, that's so
I painted with my toes.
Oh my gosh.
And so going down.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, that's funny.
Are you recording all this?
Whenever I like this.
2 people are gone, so.
I made things.
I know, right?
There you go. He's got a little beret hat.
My thing is better after I do it.
The community collection
Are you
class.
kidding me?
My
I
first
know it is ours.
then, a friend of mine, Plaza Ridge,
Oh, Michigan.
she had gotten back to me with exact numbers. I said 3 to 5
But
people.
it's funny, it's like.
Gaina,
Now?
he's gonna, I think the Monday
So
class
it's
is
color
gonna
reactions.
be 8.
Oh,
But
that's
3
nice.
of them
And then when they-
I made a week.
first 3 classes, and then
I like
which is
if like you get lip switches and like cursing is a compliment. And my friends used to joke that like, you know, you need to just if you posted it on Facebook and Facebook asks, do you know this person? That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. You're like, wow. That's really good. The Facebook test. I would have like point to you.
It's getting smushed, that's, yeah. Oh, there you go.
No, I wouldn't. Better that than like.
I can just, that's, yeah, that's what I did all first. Struggling.
And then. Snake? Oh, right.
I haven't looked.
Yeah, it's harder.
And several regulars that haven't signed up yet, so I'm always making calls to make sure. But I would expect to be a class with them.
Probably then each person might have to.
Yeah.
Watch last year's is gonna be a
There
lot.
are, yeah,
So much soul.
Oh,
might pick the
Here's yours, Todd.
like Monday.
Yes. Yeah.
Very good.